and welcome to another edition of the Plus One segment. And Joey is back with us in studio. We didn't have him last week, but last week was crazy. But he's back, man, and we're pretty much at the tail end of the football season, and I'm at the point where I'm ready for basketball season.
It's getting a little cold.
Just a little bit. You know, Manning Field, too, the way that stadium is, it's a little colder on the field than it is anywhere else in that stadium. So, but we do got some good stuff to talk about. We got playoffs. 3 out of the 5 schools in Lynn are in the postseason. St. Mary's, Kip Academy, and Lynn Tech. They will all be in action this Friday. But we got to talk about the teams traveling first, though. Lynn Tech, we just talked about it. They got to make a second trip in 3 weeks down to the Cape. Man, I don't wish that on nobody. That's a hike.
No one should have to drive into Cape Cod twice in 3 weeks, but they'll mean business, I think, and just get in the zone and get ready to go. So it's unfortunate that they have to do the drive, but at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do and just play your game. Yeah,
the thing with those drives is the effects is how you start the game, because it's such a long drive, so you might start the game off a little slow than you normally would just because of the drive. And, that's how some teams fall behind early. So that's one thing that the Tigers got to do. They got to come out and not have a slow start on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. You got to be able to shake off that drive and be able to start fast because, as you said, this is win or go home time.
And I know Tech loves to run the ball and rely on its defensive and offensive lines, but I think it's especially important Friday to establish the run.
Yeah.
Especially if they're coming off the bus and they want to start early, start strong. They've obviously got the playmakers, Jadiel and Eddie and Anthony making plays, running the ball. So if they can just play their game, establish the run early, I like their chances.
They're fully healthy, right? Well, minus the young man that got hurt against Whittier, but pretty much they got the whole team is pretty healthy for going into this one, correct?
I know Jadiel and Eddie are good.
Yeah.
And then I know it was Anthony who got.
That was Anthony
who got hit.
Okay, so hopefully he's good to go for this game. But they do have, they got some guys that could fill in for him, that they'll be able to make the plays. And also, I'm pretty sure Tech has a chip on their shoulder because they didn't make it last year. They didn't make the postseason last year. So getting back into the postseason, I'm sure that's going to get those guys, first time for a lot of those guys. That's going to have them a little bit more riled up to try and continue their season.
And I think Tech especially has a chip on its shoulder because its loss to Saugus was so close and so late. And they would have been undefeated midway through the year had they won that game. And then also, even this past weekend against Neshoba, there was an issue with the field lighting.
First time
so they were driving Friday night, and then they kind of lost their momentum they thought they had, and it continued Saturday because the lights went out. So if I'm Tech, I'm a little frustrated.
Right.
But like we said, it's about just going there, getting in the zone, and executing.
That was quite the situation. If I would, kudos to Coach Runner and his staff and the team for going out there the next day and finishing the game. Because if that was me, I would have just called them and just like, hey, you guys got it. You guys got it. There's no sense. We're both in the playoffs. You got it. We ain't trying to drive back up there, but hey, they did it anyway. So, but I would not have done that. Just me, personally.
Same. I think so. Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah, man, you play the game. Kip Academy, this isn't an easy drive either. They're going all the way to pretty much Western Mass. Frontier is like between Amherst and it's just in between Amherst and some other stuff. It's a long drive. It is a very long drive, but Kip Academy closed out the season with the win. Offensively, they put up 40 points. And my key for them for this game is they gotta have another solid defensive effort out there, because I know their offense will be able to put points and move the ball, but they gotta have a very solid defensive game this week.
Yeah, and when it comes to Frontier Regional, when I talked to Coach Runner, he expected that matchup. So I'd like to think they've been looking at them for maybe a little more than a week now.
Right.
And I believe Coach Rabbit and company will have them ready to go and have a strong game plan, and now it comes down to executing. I believe you're right. Defense is most important because we know Pena and Machado are going to do their thing, and they're going to show up on the big stage like they have before.
Right. And also it's kind of because they've been like a little up and down this season, but also, as you said, they already had a clue who they were going to face. Because I think like once you're like 2 weeks away out of the season, you kind of figure out, you kind of know who your opponent's going to be, or have an idea who your opponent's going to be. So that gives you a little bit more time to prepare for them. But and that's another team that was hampered with injuries at some point in this season. So it's good to see all their guys back and healthy at the right time too. It's good to get the players healthy and on the field at the right time, which is this time of the year.
Yeah, and I just think similarly to what we said about Tech. It's a long drive.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. You don't want to do it, but it's just part of it, right?
Right,
If you make the state championship, you got to go to Foxborough. That's just the name of the game.
Is this a 7 p.m. start or is it a 6 p.m. start?
I believe it's 7.
Okay, that's a little bit better, but still. 7 p.m. start, but still, it's still a 2-3 hour drive. So they'll hopefully they leave school early just to get there, because that what's that highway home there? What is it, 95 or whatever highway they're taking over there? That I know during Friday after work time, it gets pretty packed and that traffic is really backed up. So, but good luck to them. And then lastly, the last team that made it was St. Mary's. They got the 8th seed, right? They were the number 8 seed. And first of all, that entire division, that is a gauntlet of a Division 5, both sides of the bracket. It's going whatever 2 teams make it to Gillette, they know they had to get battle tested, because every single team in this division is really good.
You're right. I'm following St. Mary's. I'm following Swampscott. 2 very exciting teams that are finding their rhythm the last few weeks.
Gloucester in this one?
Oh, you're right.
Gloucester's in this.
And but back to St. Mary's, I think, when it comes to Friday night, I think you just want to keep doing what you're best at. Rowan Merriman is going to do his thing and be powerful through the line. Jimmy Jennings to the outside. Just rely on your run game, execute, and like you said, the defense has to be running around and really jumping all over the place. So
yeah, they have to be extra prepared this week, because they got a running back coming in here who's, I think he's close to 2,000 yards on the season. He's had games where he's carried the ball 40 times. This is a run-heavy offense as well, and they give it to Gustavo a lot. I know we saw him last year when they came here to play Lynn English, and I think he had like 44 carries in that game. And I wouldn't be surprised in this one too. They just try to put the team on his back because he's that type of player. So they got to be extra focused on this one, because even if you do put 9-10 in the box, they're still going to run it, and they still get yards too.
Yeah, I can't speak too much about the opposition. I don't know that team too well, but when I think of St. Mary's, I know they have kids on this team who have been on the big stage before. Not even just football, just basketball, hockey.
Right.
They know what it's like to play in tournament games, and I think they're more excited than nervous.
Yeah.
They might be anxious to go out there and do what they do, but I just think St. Mary's lean on its veterans, run the ball.
And they're home too.
And they're home.
They're home. I don't think they've been home for a couple weeks, so it's going to be good to play in front of a home crowd on a Friday night with a chance to get there. And if they do win, and the 1 seed does beat, and Shawsheen beats Salem, there's a potential rematch between Salem and between Shawsheen and St. Mary's, which their first meeting, came down to the last minute of the game, where St. Mary's was in control the whole game, but Shawsheen made a big play and then got a turnover. So that would be a great rematch for both of those teams. And it'll be great for fans too, because the first matchup was really good.
And whether they want to admit it or not, I think every coach, player is kind of looking at the bracket, and they want things to happen. I think they want that rematch and to get it done.
I agree. I agree. I agree with you on that. Also, Lynn Classical, they didn't quite make the tournament this year. Lynn English didn't make it out of this year. Classical fairly young. There was a lot of turnover with Classical. But Coach Smith, those guys, they played well. they played well despite their start. They finished 3-5 on the season, but the last game you lose in an overtime game that you could have won. They got another game, a non-playoff game against Waltham Saturday. I saw Waltham once early on this season. They're pretty big, but I think Classical should hold their own against them. But this is just in preparation as we get ready for Thanksgiving. And then the team that has everybody talking and everybody questioning about this whole rankings is Lynn English not making it. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why they didn't make it, or we could say why. But I got a couple reasons. But my first one, when I really looked at it, you look at that was I think the top 3 teams or so in this division were in Division 2 last year. They dropped down. Now they occupy those top spots. If you look at it last year, English would have been in. English was in, those teams weren't in there. So you could look at it from that point of view for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, talk to Coach Tyler McDonald, and he's not making any excuses, right?
Right.
The MIAA has its system, has its formula, and it is what it is. 6-2, great season. They beat Everett. They beat a couple other strong teams. And Tyler was very honest, and he said, if we beat Marblehead and Swampscott,
right,
we're in. Especially that Swampscott game was close, very close toward the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But English, you got to be happy with what you've done. 6 games in a row, a chance to be 9-2 at the end of the year, if you count the 2 non-playoff games and then Classical.
Right.
So it is what it is, but now you just look forward.
They played 2 non-playoff games?
I think so.
I would only play 1. I hope they just play 1. But also, my other issue with this rankings is teams getting rewarded for losing. That's my biggest issue with these, because I look at some teams in this division, in this bracket, they go with an under 500 record, and then I'm just looking at their resume. You don't win. You don't win no games in your conference. You played 4 conference games, all but 1 of them were close. 3 of them were blowouts. In the non-conference game, I think only one of those teams actually had a good record. And so when I look at that and the seeding they got, I mean, for a team with that type of resume, how will you even at the spot that you're in? So it's kind of like they're being rewarded for 1 because you play in a conference that got three teams that are potential state championship teams, and then you get these non-conference games that you pile up that you could get easy wins for. So it's kind of like you're rewarding these guys for 1, losing, and for 2, being in a good conference. But I mean, these guys don't get the same benefit of the doubt when they play close games and non-conference schedules.
Yeah, speaking of non-conference opponents, I think it would have helped English's case had Peabody won a few more games. Peabody went 0-8.
Right.
So, the win against Peabody probably didn't mean much.
Right.
From the MIAA's standpoint. And then also Marblehead lost its last 2 games. Had Marblehead gone 8-0, maybe that loss in week 1 for English wouldn't have been so damaging. A lot of variables,
right,
a lot of things that, can, should, maybe,
right,
whatever. But I like how Coach McDonald's thinking about it.
Right.
Just look forward. You can't change it, and be happy with what you've done. Try to be 9-2. Yeah,
I agree with that. But my biggest issue is like you're rewarding some teams for losing, and then you're punishing some teams for losing. Like we need some consistency here, man. Either you win or lose. We can't reward teams. You played a tough team, we're gonna give you points, but but hey, who am I? I've been on this for like the last 3-4 years of this thing. I've been saying the same thing, but yeah. So make sure you go Friday at Manning Field, 6 p.m. Lynn at Manning Field. St. Mary's taking on Greater Lawrence. That's a 6 p.m. kickoff, and and we got some boxing. He actually went and saw Rashidi fight.
I watched it. I couldn't make it, but I watched the live stream on YouTube, the CES Autumn Classic. Rashidi Ellis, Lynn's own, was the main event against former world champion Javier Fortuna, and knocked him down with a body shot in the 3rd round, I believe, and then stopped him in the 4th. Great performance from Rashidi, and rightfully so. He's calling out everybody. We'd all want to see it.
Hey, man.
And I think we're all happy for him. You probably know him a little better than I do, but I was lucky enough to interview him once.
Yeah.
Very down to earth, very funny, laughing, asked me questions too. You know, he was a joy to talk to, and I'm rooting for him. I hope he gets any fight he wants.
We had him here. He called in on Zoom. We chatted with him after one of his fights earlier this year. So yeah, man. It's good to see. Good to see it. But yeah, I mean, one of these guys, they gotta step up and take on the challenge. I mean, Boots were supposed to fight, but they were trying to shortchange him. So, I mean, hey man, we all have our opinions about Boots and his, but there's a fighter right there that will give him a good fight. So they need to work something out.
I would love to see it. I mean, if you want to laugh, there's a press conference clip of Rashidi and Boots going at it a few years ago.
Oh yeah,
and they didn't. It seems like they didn't rule out a fight one day, and I think it'd be fun. Styles make fights, and they're kind of similar. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's somewhat close so we can go.
Agreed. And then Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. What a circus that's been. We've been calling it a circus since they actually made that announcement. But the fight's canceled now. That's not going to happen. I think Jake Paul's going to fight somebody else. Or...
Yeah. Gervonta Davis, some out of the ring troubles may have impacted this fight. So Jake Paul's going to look for a different opponent. I think it's going to be Nate Diaz. Or rematch. So I wasn't a big fan of the Jake versus Gervonta fight anyway. Yeah. So I'm not heartbroken that it's canceled. I would prefer Jake to fight someone his size who's been boxing his whole life, and I'd prefer Gervonta to take the Lamont Roach rematch or the Shakur fight. Yeah. So I didn't really want this fight to happen anyway. So would it have been entertaining? Sure. Am I heartbroken? No.
I agree with you.
You agree?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, come on. This is also beneath Gervonta Davis, the whole thing. So, whatever. All right. How's your predictions going? How's it going?
I've improved to third place. So I'm still behind Marco Boyan and Marie Tobin. But you never know. I picked Swampscott to win this week. I think they upset Archbishop Williams. And we'll see how the rest of my Lynn predictions go.
Well, if it makes you feel better, right? I do predictions on my Instagram page, the LCTV After the Whistle page. I do polls, and then I see what the people pick, and then I give them my picks. And I've been doing well, but anytime I get a team wrong, I pick a game wrong, man, the players are in my DMs just, they won't let me hear the end of it. And I'm just like, hey, it's called a prediction. Either I'm right or I'm wrong. Like, what do you want me to do? So
I always look at it when things like that happen. At least they're reading. At least they're engaged.
Right. But some of them, I just, I got to be nice, because some of them they wonder why I pick against a team, and I'm just like, I mean, look at the records here. What do you expect? What do you want me to pick? But hey, make sure y'all check them out. Well, me and Joe will be at Manning Field on Friday for that playoff game with St. Mary's and Greater Lawrence, and check out the latest articles, and the predictions go out Thursday or Friday morning.
Yeah, Friday morning paper, and I'll probably throw them online Thursday night. All
right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Joey from The Item. We got a couple more weeks, then we go on to basketball season. And maybe we'll get Mark in here. Maybe. Because he's a basketball guy, but maybe. We'll see. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen.